Which is your favorite team? The one you use the most and the one you want the most. Improve in the future? Today, we will speak before the arrival of Mavuika, after the arrival of Xilonen, and with new news about current meta Xbalanque from the best teams. But no. It's a tier list of gold teams as you like. I've got you used to it, otherwise it's more of a review. Doors to Mavuika and how it could improve with Mavuika or Xbalanque, or being more realistic, as it could improve with a Xiangling or Bennett 5 stars and how it would change. That we currently know as a top 5 or top 10 best teams in the game. So leave a good like, a good utility, subscribe, leave a good comment. For the algorithm, thanks for enjoying and watching the video and the channel. Okay. It doesn't cost you anything. From watching the video, we grow a lot, and the video explodes like everyone else. I mean, I don't really know what you do. I appreciate it a million because every video is a bomb, and I'm afraid of what I can occur in the best of the senses with the 5.2 and 5.3 that again feels that Genshin will return to. Going up as in NATLAN at the beginning 5, and then hopefully we'll get to the 200,000 soon. So subscribe to bell, and let's see how I tell you how to change the goal with Mavuika. And the current state of it after Xilonen, not a tier list of gold teams as such. But a video may be a little more condensed about all this, because once Mavuika comes out, you will have a list of characters, a list of teams that will improve with Mavuika, and all the content I know you're looking for, so I'll leave in the comments what the video is. That with more eagerness you expect that you always ask me to act, and we go with this video. Alright, quickly to put things on the table and make a small precedent of what? Let's talk. Let's explain. Let's say right now, the best teams in the game above. Let's consider the top 5, because if I tell you about the top 10, maybe the video will last 3 hours of video and it's not the plan. I structure it differently in a list of target teams, but basically the current approach of the best teams. There's in the game today, and I'll explain if Xilonen has influenced or not, it's next. Intrudingly and can further improve with Mavuika. Kinich. Now we talk about him and talk about him. Kinich Furina Xiangling Bennett, where Xiangling is carrying memories of the forest, and Kinich is Cone, and from above is all old glories of Genshin Impact. That is, the only new. Maybe Kinich or even Mualani and Furina, Healer, Xilonen, and Xiangling, where you can also improve with Mavuika. Kinich and Mualani have entered there and are fighting to enter the top 5 teams of the best of the game, but they are at the door, at the expense of improving with Mavuika. From above. As I say, you will remember everything. In the top 5 today would include a total post that would be, let's say, nationals, both with the international variants of Tartaglia, and with the variants of Raiden National, i.e. Raiden C2, Yellen Conan Aqua, and possibly could also improve with Mavuika instead of Xiangling. And even here, he has received a new roof with Xilonen C2, the team, by Raiden Hypercarry, who would position him a little above the national, the Raiden C2, Zara Chinks, Xilonen CT2 and Bennett, which hasn't improved, let's say, damage it can cause. But it has improved, which reduces its rotation from 20 seconds to 15 seconds, and can calculate this. In 4 rotations for 1 minute, the total damage of Raiden Hypercarry has greatly improved, with the Xilonen C2, 2 ITA. Above the Raiden Hypercarry are Hyperbloom teams. Hyperbloom could or can today fight with the next post that would be above. Hyperblooms, which would be the top 2. And Hyperblooms have several roofs, both today with Ike. Kinich Tse2 himself, as with Sinnoh, Furina, Nahida, Baiju, as with different variants. But above all, speaking of C2 of Arcantes, Furina and Nahida, C2 mainly. And to finish this approach, because it's just an approach and now we're going to a lot more. I'm going to include both Arlecchino and Gamin's teams because I usually put them apart. Because they're different things, but the reality is that they're both teams playing with Bennett. On the team B, with an MO, which in the case of Arlecchino is Kazuha, but also works well with Xbalanque in some teams without downs. In the case of gaming, it is Xianyun for the downswings. If you can play with Kazuha, both depend on Furina and both depend on some strokes. Vaporized in the case of gaming, all in the case of Arlecchino 1 and 3, but they are cores, very similar to a Caraparo and Vaporized. These equipments I have now put top 2 above from Hyperbloom because, ladies and gentlemen, if we play Xilonen C2 instead of Bennett, basically Xilonen has given us a better roof to the whole game, and the teams of Arlecchino and Damon, specifically replacing Bennett with Salonen, improve, ladies and gentlemen. In addition, we have a new roof, and finally, New Villette is the indisputable. Genshin Impact is the best team in the game, and again, the team of New Billet Fiorina Kazuha Xilonen. C2 is the new best team in the game. No one expected it, but so much compare Kazuha to Xilonen, and I included myself in the comments. Connection to Genshin Impact CEO, because I did a 20 video that Xilonen better Kazuha, and who would tell us that the Arlecchino Fiorina Kazuha Yonen C2 and the New Billet Fiorina Kazuha Xilonen C2 would be the two best teams in the game. Ironically, sharing the top 3 game supports? What a surprise and crazy! You just blew your head off watching this video, leaving a good like it didn't finish. This is the previous approach of the best teams in the game. There are many more. Many will tell me have Phil and Navi improved with Salonen. Yes, but below. There are more combinations. Ooh, Tao's teams would also be just below all of this. Xilonen, it does give them a second alternative behind Xianyong, but in all cases, Xianyong is still better with Hu Tao specifically. As you see, Xianyong is also very present, and told you by past assets that it was must-pull, and that was very strong. And not you are waiting for the leader. Xianyong's rare run because it is present in this tier list by a lot, and with a lot of difference. And now let's talk number 1 as you see from Xilonen's analysis. Arlecchino and New Villette with the same support core give us the best teams of the game, surprisingly. But also, it also gives us the best Raiden hypercarry today that also. It doesn't make Gammon any better. It's not bad with Gammon, but it doesn't make him better. More than Arlecchino. It doesn't improve the hyper blooms. And Ancient Nationals can get Salonen in instead of Bennett, but until it's not C2, it doesn't make up much for you either instead of Bennett, but maybe in the future a Raiden National of Raiden. I'm getting ahead because I'm going to talk of Mariko now later, but I already advanced you the sneak peek and the trailer of the final and apotheosic part. The video, Raiden Galant Cone. Who knows if, by the application of Mawiko, different Fiorina works. Okay, but the Raiden Fiorina Mawiko Xilonen, well, I'm afraid, maybe the Raiden National. But basically, as you see here, Xilonen improves too. 3 at least of the 5 best teams in the game and indeed came to break the game, but he came to break it and weave it with C2. A lot of people say, but if only C2 makes things better, it's not so good, Mini. It's first or second best alternative to Chero on a lot of teams. The top 10 table, and as you see with C2 versus C2, exceeds Kazuha.I. That is, objectively, not only. It's amazing, it's not just important, it doesn't just give you what other supports can give you and better, but objectively in all areas, being the first or second best option in a lot of teams above Kazuha or other characters like that. Yes, it is. Both Chero and C2 too. The case with this is next, and now if we talk about Xbalanque and from Mavuika Dekat. There are new news from Xbalanque that I want to include in this video, not to do alone. A video talking about Xbalanque because in the end you can't turn a lot around either. Information that is a bit summarized and make it redundant. Xbalanque is said to not in principle. I was in Hojover's real plans and all this that Xbalanque was a Bennett, 5 stars is. Something that the community was excited about and began to run information like foam. Said through, you know, Hojover's leaks and information and the leak sources. They say this was said by a Hojover worker, I hope it's true, I don't know. Hans, I disagree, leaks can be all lies until they show otherwise, that Hojover does. Is taking into account this feedback and this has, let's say, this information that has flown into the beginning, and that maybe it is taking into account the development of a character called Xbalanque, and that it could be a Bennett 5 stars or maybe a Kerrigan, you know, then maybe we could have a Bennett 5 stars, or maybe literally the Bennett 5 stars is Mavuika C2. Mavuika! I'm sorry, Xilonen C2, and we hadn't noticed because Ini, the team of Arlecchino Gaming Xilonen C2 instead of Bennett does the job perfectly, and in some Raiden National Xilonen can do a Bennett-like job in the Raiden case. National does not improve Bennett, but you can also play Xilonen instead of Bennett. Now, if this were to exist, then obviously the equipment that works with a Bennett would improve, i.e. the team of Ogamin, the team of Arlecchino, the team of Kinich, and the Raiden Hypercarry and Raiden National would go up. What teams don't get better with a Bennett? A Hyperbloom team, and practically already, the rest do improve with a Bennett. Now let's talk about Mavuika, who is practically at the gates of arriving and having her kit blended. Less than a month and it's, well, let's take it for granted maybe it would be an Xbalanque 5 stars. As I said in the video, being cautious, at least we could get to tell how it would modify. The list of target teams: an Xbalanque 5 stars and a Bennett 5 stars. Here, an Xbalanque 5 stars would improve concretely 2 teams that also do not. They're in the top of these top 5 teams in the game if they're not a little bit lower. It would improve the Raiden National, and with it an improvement of Raiden, the preferred Archante of the players, and improve Kinish teams capable of a Kinish Furina Mavuika Bennett or Kinish Furina Mavuika Xbalanque. I do not know what could happen if this improves, since Kinish looks at the top 5 best teams in the game and something like that for Mualani. Mavuika, Xilonen and Furina Geiler, and today the best team in Mualani is Furina Geiler. Xilonen, Xiangling Mualani, Pomgegedate. It is the greatest damage by rotation above Nahida's burn. Xiangling, or Emily Xiangling. Then it would be just as Hoyover usually proposes the goal. It would be quite similar. It would be quite logical that I brought those characters who are not only going to be very hot and they're going to be strong, but they're going to balance it even more because the top 5 is going to raise them a little bit more. And it's going to generate a fight and see what the top 5 teams in the game are. Mavuika, that is a kind of Xiangling 5 stars, would improve as you can see. Raiden National moving from top 4 5 or top 4 to even better maybe. I could enable, maybe, Raiden Furina Mavuika Bennett or Raiden Furina Mavuika Xilonen. Mualani would also improve, and little joke that these teams do not need to improve anymore because they have already entered near the top 6, top 5, the 2 are very strong. Kinish does depend more on his cone, Mualani does not. Mualani does not depend on his cone, Chero, Madnesses and Wonders. And basically this is what that would happen. That would improve these 3 teams, mainly Gaming and Arlecchino would remain. That they have already improved with Xilonen C2 along with Neuvillette, that today are the most. And I find it super strange that they are effectively Furina Kazuha Xilonen C2 or Furina Kazuha Bennett, but Xilonen CT2 in Arlecchino improves Bennett strangely. Hyper Bloom would stay out there for the top 3. Top 4. Maybe if the Mavuika teams got better. Maybe the Hyper Bloom goes down to the top 5 and the teams go up with Mavuika and we have a Neuvillette core. Arlecchino, Kinish, Mualani, Raiden National or Raiden Hyper Carry, and then maybe the Hyper Blooms. And then Hutaos, Navias and some other teams will be forgetting. More or less the current approach is this. This is what we have in Genshin Impact. This is the best. This is what has improved with Xilonen globally, and above all these are expectations of improvement with Xbalanque and Mavuika, or hypothetically with a Bennett or Xiangling 5 stars that in the Pyro Nation, at least one has to come. I hope you've learned something else. I hope you'll look forward to the goal team list, where we will see all this much more in depth, and always explain and talk more about the teams and especially who you expect most in case Xbalanque Bennett 5 stars is confirmed to Mavuika, or the Primordial Dragon Pyro. Moposito, leave a good like, a good ulti of Bennett, subscribe, leave a comment on the channel, and for enjoying the video and channel. Thank you for all the love and support. Thank you for really everything you're getting day by day this channel. And thanks to the team for the spectacular work they do, and to you for being an excellent audience. Take care of yourself. Have a very good day. Don't minimize yourself. Don't minimize yourself, please. Clien Chaito.